Hello and welcome back, everybody. I felt like this video had to be made. I basically I don't know how much I've talked about GovPlanet at this point. It's an unreal amount. Honestly, they probably should just send me a Humvee because I know I've helped them sell at least 100 of these things. I'm not sponsored by GovPlanet. I've just dealt with them before. I bought a Humvee off of GovPlanet. I'm currently bidding on another one. While I'm not a complete pro, there's people out there that have done much more with GovPlanet than I ever will. I'm just your average dude, and I've had your average experience, I feel, with GovPlanet. So hopefully my point of view is helpful. But, I get this comment a lot from viewers, subscribers, that type of thing. And basically, it's something along the lines of, GovPlanet, it's a complete scam because X reason, or I bought something off GovPlanet and it was a horrible experience and it was so bad that I would borderline call it a scam. Clear cut, it's not a scam. This is my 2003 Humvee that I bought off of GovPlanet back in November 20th of 2019, and here it is. So, this is a legit Humvee I bought off GovPlanet. I won the auction. And it was not a scam. I arranged shipping and eventually I had it delivered to my door. What was my experience like with this auction site? Spending upwards of $10,000 on something, online is not something the average person does. So let me first, I think, just start by describing how the auction process works, what you need to do to bid on GovPlanet, all that kind of stuff. Because I think that's a good jumping off point. The first thing you got to do is make an account. You'll sign up and get buying privileges. So for me, I just made an account. I think I had to get approved to buy. I don't remember what all I had to tell them. I do remember something got screwed up and it thought I lived in Canada for some reason, so I had to call their customer service and correct that. It was about a week or 2 week long process, so it's not something, at least back then, that you can take care of in a day. It does take a little while to, create your account, get them all the information they need, that type of thing. Next thing you can do is you bid, buy, and check out. So bidding on GovPlanet is pretty straightforward. I'll just bid on one of these. So, let's say that I want to buy this Humvee right here. So you would just click on the ad. It has a series of pictures you can look at. And then you can click on more, go through, there's 82 pictures of this thing. So they provide plenty of pictures. And the reason for that is you can't actually go see these things in person. So you have to buy them basically sight unseen. They have a limited function check. Like right here, it says some of the lights aren't operational. It says, the gauges work, there's visible blow by, they had to jump start it. So it has a limited, function check, and you basically just have to take their word for it. You really should expect that there's going to be more things wrong with the Humvee than what they actually tell you. So, it's not like they have time. They're contracted with the government to sell these things off, as far as I understand. So there is hundreds of them, and they don't have time to, test drive every single one and do a thorough check of everything and have a mechanic, take the valve covers off and look at it. They don't have time to do that. So basically they just do a super quick and dirty. They look under it. Okay, is anything leaking? No. Yes. They fire it up. Does it sound normal? If it doesn't, they'll put that it makes a strange sound. They check the lights. They check for any damage on the body and just a few other key things like that. And then they will post this ad. And basically all the GovPlanet ads are exactly the same. When you're ready to bid, what you can do is place a priority bid. So as you see, this one will not get auctioned off until January 19th. So I can go ahead if I want and place a priority bid. So I'll do $6,100. Right? Oh, and imagine that. I've been outbid. So, it'll tell you in the priority bid that you've been outbid. It won't tell you by how much. Now, I could put, let's say $100,000 if I wanted to. I don't recommend that. It wouldn't automatically take me to $100,000. It would bid it up in increments of $100 until I am the winning bid or until my max priority bid of 100K gets outbid, which please don't do that. I do not want to see any Humvees go for like $150,000. The last video, I showcased some pretty crazy stuff, so we don't need to hit 6 digits, but you get the idea. Now, once the auction does finally go, and I wish I could show you some of these live, but it's just, they're not being bid out yet. Typically, it's every Wednesday. There will be a mass auction where they will, they'll bid off like, literally like 50 to 100 Humvees. They will do an auction where, you know, for instance, this is January 19th, this is January 19th, this, you know, all of these are being bid on January 19th. And some of them are in different times. You know, this is from 10:20 to 10:25. And I'm sure we can find some that are like some other time here. So like, look here, this is 11:05 to 11:10. So they'll kind of go at different increments. But for the most part, they just do a massive wave of a ton of Humvees on the same day. And it's literally, well, what it says is it'll be about 5 minutes. So in that time, you know, all the priority bids will be exposed. So this one here will probably jump to like $12,000 almost instantly as soon as the auction starts because of people's priority bids. And then people will compete against each other to try and win the Humvee. And it will go absolutely crazy in a very short amount of time. But it will go up very, very quickly. And then what is a real bummer, and I wish they would just get rid of this, is they will go into overtime. So you'll get 30 seconds of overtime, and it's basically like if you picture an old school auction house, you know, the guy will be talking, saying all this crazy gibberish, and then, you know, he'll be saying, you know, whatever, 5,000, yes, yes, 5,000, 5,000, holding up the gavel and waiting for someone else to interject and say, you know, 5,100 or whatever it is. And almost every time it goes into overtime, it will go up. So you'll think you had won, and then the case is not actually true, and someone else will outbid you. And as far as I know, there's no limit on the amount of overtimes they go into. So, you know, then you'll win, you'll bid up again, you'll be the leader, and you'll think, okay, yes, the overtime's about to end, and then you will get another overtime. And I think it's about 30 seconds or so, and then you'll get outbid again. And for instance, on my first truck, I think I originally had, quote unquote, won the auction at like $8,000. And then because of all the overtimes, it went all the way up to $10,200, which was a big surprise and kind of stupid in my opinion. They should just cut it off when they cut it off. But it's not my call to make. So that is more or less what you can expect from the auction. Now, if you win, it'll obviously tell you you win. And then you will go into all the other stuff involved with buying a Humvee. Like this says right here, it sells with a clean SF97. So you will purchase that during checkout, or at least you definitely should. So that's kind of your lifeline to make the vehicle street legal at some point. But you'll buy that SF97 form. That's a little bit extra money. For instance, let me just show you. Let me show you what mine ended up being after all the extra fees, because people have asked about that. And that's another part of kind of what people have called a scam, is these extra fees. To play devil's advocate, with any auction system, there's going to be extra fees. I don't care what it is. You know, Purple Wave, eBay, you're going to pay extra fees. That's a big part of how auctions work and how they make money. But let me show you. I think I can click on post sale info here. So it'll take you to a thing where you can set up transportation. It has this VeriTread thing. That's where I got hooked up with LTI Delivers, which as far as I know, they don't do Humvee stuff anymore. So it gives you a quick summary, and then look here. So I won it at 10.2, I believe, and with the extra fees, it ended up costing $12,290 and 40 cents. So $12,290, 40 cents. So I can even go into detail here. So this is kind of what your invoice will look like. So we've got this transaction fee that was $1,030. We've got that 97 fee, which is just $50, and that's about it. And then the other cost you need to take into account is shipping your Humvee, which can be multiple $1,000s depending on where you live. I imagine my buddy Dakota shipping them from California all the way down to Florida. That's got to be pretty expensive. I shipped mine from Georgia to Missouri, and I think that was somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000. So you will have to deal with that, and you'll just go ahead, pay your invoice. The next big thing is you will have to clear what's called an EUC, which stands for end of use certificate, I think. And basically that is saying that you are not a terrorist, you're not Al-Qaeda, and you're not buying these Humvees to go use them in a terrorist operation. So they do a background check just like they would if you were buying a gun, except for, unlike buying a gun, this background check and EUC takes like 6 months, and it's a huge pain and a real bummer. And you'll get all excited for having your Humvee, and then you'll have to wait literally like half a year sometimes. So just be mentally prepared for that. I think mine took about 4 months. I've heard of them taking much quicker. I've heard of them taking ridiculously long. Then once that finally clears, that means you have the green light to either ship your Humvee or go pick it up. They'll give you probably, I think, a phone number, if I remember right, to call and schedule a pickup with the depot or the military base or whatever it is. That went pretty smoothly with me. And then you'll work with your transporter, and they'll just go pick it up, and it's pretty straightforward. It's not really that much different than picking up a normal car. It's just a little bit more formal. You have to plan things out better. That's basically the whole buying process. So, if you think that sounds like a scam, I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely not. It is. You have to jump through a lot more hoops and stuff than you would with a normal civilian type auction. But then again, these are prior military surplus vehicles. That's kind of to be expected. So now that we've established that GovPlanet is not a scam website and you really can buy a Humvee online, and it's not necessarily too good to be true like you may have thought it was, but it is indeed possible, and if you're really interested in this type of thing, you can do it. Let's talk about the other aspects of GovPlanet. So, the website, bidding, all of that works pretty smoothly. I didn't notice any major glitches or latency or lag or anything like that. Obviously, you want to make sure you have a good internet connection, that kind of thing. Everything worked pretty well. It was intuitive, in my opinion. There was really nothing that was very confusing for me. The process itself was all new, and I pretty much understood it, and there's a lot of resources on the site, I think, to help you as well. Customer service. I've heard a lot of complaints about the GovPlanet customer service. Here's the deal. The customer service, from my experience, and of course this was a while back in 2019, it's good, but it's limited. When you do end up getting a customer service person, they really are actually pretty helpful. For the most part, I would say 3 out of 4 of them know what they're doing and want to help you and do a good job. But there just isn't enough of them. So very likely you'll be on hold for an extremely long time. You'll have to wait for a call back. You'll have to try multiple times. It seems like the customer service is terrible, but then when you get a hold of somebody, they actually really help you a ton and explain everything and that. Now, I've had a few people commenting about this. How does it compare buying a Humvee off GovPlanet versus buying from a private seller? Or I've had a guy saying you should just buy from a private seller, and I've had people say they're overpriced from private sellers. So personally, I am buying one currently. I would buy off of GovPlanet. That's only because I've done it before. I'm familiar with the process at this point, and it doesn't really intimidate me. I know how to make one street legal in my home state, and I'm pretty good at working on cars. I've been doing it for my whole life, basically. I'm very comfortable. I could take a Humvee completely apart, put it back together, and it would take a few weeks, but I know I could do it. So if that's not you, if you're not super comfortable working on them, if you don't want to jump through the hoops of getting it street legal, you don't want to have to figure out how to ship it to your place and create an account on GovPlanet, all that, obviously you're going to want to buy from a private seller. The prices on a private seller, 9 times out of 10, are going to be higher. There was some strange stuff that happened with the last auctions that prices just skyrocketed really high, where GovPlanet was probably actually more expensive in a lot of cases than the private sellers. But what a lot of people do, and I don't really love this, is they will buy Humvees off of GovPlanet, basically do zero work to them, make them street legal, and then tack on $10,000 of markup because, you know, a lot of people think it's almost impossible to make them street legal. And depending on the state you live in, that may be the case, but there's certain people that have, you know, perfected the process of making these things street legal, and they're really good at that, and they know that there is money to be made in that, but they don't want to put in the work of actually going through them, you know, and fixing anything that's broken or worn out or old, or adding upgrades and stuff like that. So you're going to have to contend with that. You know, just the street legalness for most private sellers is going to be an extra $5,000 or $10,000. And then, you know, of course, the good private sellers are going to go through them, at least fix anything that's broken, you know, replace old dry rotted lines, stuff like that. And there's going to be a markup there for their labor, not just parts, but also their labor. So, you know, I think from a private seller, you're going to be paying 10 to 20% more at a minimum. And if it's one of the mainstream private sellers, you're probably going to be paying about double of what you would off of GovPlanet for, you know, if you take into account you doing the work yourself. So let's say you bought a M1123, you did everything you needed to get it running perfectly and make it street legal, and that cost you a total of $20,000. Well, from a mainstream private seller, you're going to be paying at least $35,000, maybe $40,000. So that's kind of just what you have to expect. If it's just a guy, you know, they probably won't mark it up quite that much, but it's still going to be an increase. So you got to weigh your options and make your decision. Personally, I do buy them off of GovPlanet, and I like doing that. But you got to remember, I get a kickback for running ads on YouTube. You know, I've got almost 10,000 subscribers. They watch these videos. In a way, it's almost like the Humvee is going to eventually pay for itself after a couple of years or something, depending on the ad revenue I'm making, and if I decide to start selling merch and whatever it might be. So if you're just a guy doing it, or a girl or whatever, doing it purely for enjoyment, you know, you got to expect to sink some pretty good amount of money into it, even off of GovPlanet. I think $20,000 at a minimum is a pretty safe bet if you want to make the thing halfway habitable and, you know, reliable and look nice and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, guys, that's all I got. I hope this was helpful. I hope it cleared up some questions for you. Like I said, I've done so many videos on GovPlanet. I do want to actually start doing cool stuff, but my Jeep I'm still working on it. I don't have a Humvee. I'm working on buying one. So for now, it's just going to kind of be these sorts of videos. But I will have updates on the Jeep soon. Not that many people seem to care about it, but I'm not giving up. And I appreciate you watching, you sticking with me, subscribing. Definitely more cool stuff on the way. So thank you so much. Hope you can like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.